The night sky over Earth was never truly silent. The hum of satellites, the whisper of signals bouncing between towers and stations, the low roar of engines in the atmosphere, all of it blurred together into a constant background noise. Yet on that night, everything changed. At first, it seemed like nothing more than a technical glitch. Astronomers monitoring deep space arrays reported static where there should have been stars. Radar screens lit up with phantom echoes. Governments dismissed it as interference. Civilians were told nothing. But then, at exactly midnight UTC, the sky tore open. A fleet appeared without warning, stretching across the heavens like an iron curtain. Thousands of ships, sharp-edged and impossibly vast, slid into orbit as though they had always been there. They did not come with fire or thunder. They came with silence. Cities around the world froze in terror. People poured into streets, staring upward at the massive silhouettes blocking out constellations. News channels switched to emergency broadcasts. Militaries scrambled jets that were useless before they even took off. Humanity braced itself for annihilation. And then the message came. It was not spoken in English, Mandarin, or any known tongue. Yet every person understood it as if it had been whispered directly into their mind. We are the Wardens. We are here to protect you. The words rippled through every human heart. Protect us. From what? The ships remained in place, unmoving, like sentinels. They made no hostile moves. They did not demand surrender, gold, resources, or obedience. They simply waited. Governments convened emergency meetings. The United Nations Security Council called an immediate session, broadcasting live to the world. Ambassadors argued, generals demanded explanations, and scientists begged for more data. Yet through it all, the Wardens remained silent, their ships hanging above Earth like a promise wrapped in steel. For days, humanity wrestled with the meaning of that first message. People asked questions the aliens did not answer. Why had they come? Why now? What threat did they mean to shield Earth from? The only reply was the same voice echoing in the minds of all. We are here to protect you, the world divided. Some believed the Wardens were benevolent guardians, a cosmic gift sent to keep humanity safe from dangers beyond the stars. Others whispered darker theories. Protection, after all, could be another word for control. In the cities, protests erupted. Crowds shouted at the sky, demanding answers. Others dropped to their knees in prayer, believing angels had arrived. Soldiers stood watch at bases and borders, weapons ready. Even though everyone knew no human weapon could pierce those alien hulls, then came the first contact, a single ship detached from the fleet, gliding toward Earth like a drifting shadow. Its surface shifted with liquid light, metal bending as though alive. It descended slowly, carefully, until it hovered above Geneva, Switzerland. Panic surged. Sirens blared. Civilians fled as military forces surrounded the area. Yet the ship did not strike. Instead, a door opened and a figure emerged. The alien stood tall, taller than any human, its body wrapped in dark armor that gleamed like obsidian. Its face was hidden behind a mask of shifting light, making it impossible to tell if it had eyes or features at all. But when it spoke, the voice was clear and undeniable. We are the Wardens. We will protect you. The United Nations delegation met the alien in the Great Hall, under the full weight of the world's cameras. Leaders asked the same question again and again. Protect us from what? Who is coming? The alien's mask of light shifted, patterns rippling like waves. For a long moment it did not answer. The silence stretched, filling the room with dread. Finally the words came. You will understand soon. They are already moving. Chills ran down every spine. The alien gave no names, no warnings, no timetable. It only repeated the same promise. Humanity would be defended. But against what? No one knew. The following week was chaos. Scientists pointed telescopes into the sky, searching for clues. Amateur astronomers reported strange shadows passing across the stars. Rumors spread of intercepted signals, scrambled transmissions hidden in cosmic background noise. Conspiracy forums exploded with theories, space predators, rogue AI, even time travelers. Governments demanded more information. The Wardens gave none. In homes, people stared at their ceilings at night, wondering if monsters were already on the way. Parents whispered lies to their children, telling them everything would be fine. Even as fear gnawed at their own hearts, for the first time in history, humanity's greatest powers stood united in one feeling: helplessness. Then came the test. It began on a clear morning when the skies over New York filled with fire. Not from missiles, not from falling debris, but from streaks of light tearing across the atmosphere. People screamed, pointing upward. Dozens of objects burned their way through the clouds, racing toward the city. Fighter jets launched instantly, but they never fired a shot. Before human pilots could reach them, the wardens moved. A single alien ship swept low over the skyline, its hull glowing with strange runes. In the blink of an eye, beams of white fire erupted, striking every falling object at once. Explosions bloomed in the air, silent in the vacuum of space, but thunderous in the atmosphere. The objects disintegrated, leaving nothing but ash drifting on the wind. New Yorkers stared upward, stunned. The wardens had saved them, but questions multiplied. What were those objects? Were they meteors, weapons, scouts of the unseen enemy? The wardens did not answer. They only repeated their words: "We are here to protect you." That night, across television and digital feeds, leaders of the world gathered once again. Their voices trembled with frustration and fear. "Protect us from what?" demanded the President of the United States. "Why will you not tell us who our enemy is?" cried the Prime Minister of India. "What danger is coming?" asked the Secretary General of the UN. The warden ambassador stood at the center of the chamber, silent for a long time. Finally, it raised one clawed hand. Its mask of light dimmed, and for the first time, its voice carried a tone that seemed almost fearful, because if you knew them, you would call them. The chamber fell silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Cameras around the world captured the moment, broadcasting it into every home. Humanity leaned closer to screens, hearts pounding. What enemy could make the wardens so cautious? What terror could they not even name? The alien lowered its hand, and its voice returned to its calm, unwavering tone. "We are the wardens. We will protect you. You must trust us." The session ended in chaos. Leaders shouted, reporters demanded answers, civilians filled streets demanding the truth. Trust. Humanity had never trusted easily, not even among its own kind. And now, with the sky filled by silent giants, trust seemed a fragile hope. That night, people around the world stared at the stars. Children asked their parents what the wardens were protecting them from. Parents had no answers. Soldiers on night patrol kept their eyes skyward, weapons clutched tight in hands that shook despite their training. Astronomers kept telescopes fixed on the darkness, waiting for any sign of what might be out there, and in the quiet hours before dawn, deep space listening arrays picked up something new, a signal. It was faint, distorted, almost lost in the static, but it was not random. It pulsed with deliberate rhythm, carrying structure, carrying meaning, a warning, a threat, or something far worse. No one knew. But as the first scientists listened in shock, a single truth became clear. Humanity was not alone, and the wardens were not the only ones watching Earth. The silence did not last long. 3 days after the warden's warning, a new sound crept into the world. It was faint at first, hidden beneath the static of background noise, too weak for the average ear or eye to catch. But to the massive listening arrays, scattered across deserts and mountaintops, it was clear. A pattern pulsing from deep space, far beyond the reach of any satellite or human ship. At first, the scientists thought it was natural interference. Cosmic radiation often played tricks on equipment, yet the signal kept repeating. Hour after hour, day after day, it pulsed with perfect rhythm. It was not random. It was deliberate. The first to notice was Dr. Sofia Calderon, a senior analyst at the Arecibo Observatory. She had been awake for 36 hours, her desk buried under empty coffee cups when the sequence revealed itself. A pulse every 50 seconds, then a pause, then a longer pulse, then a cluster. She froze. Her skin prickled. This was no star, no pulsar, no black hole trick. It was communication, Her first instinct was to contact the United Nations Science Council. Her second instinct was to panic. By the next morning, the secret had leaked. News stations lit up with rumors of alien signals. Internet forums screamed with theories. Some claimed it was the wardens themselves, hiding the truth. Others swore it was a coded warning. Fear spread like wildfire, but the wardens remained silent. Their ships hung above Earth like black statues, watching, unmoving. They neither denied nor confirmed the signal. When pressed, the alien ambassador at the UN repeated the same chilling phrase, "They are already moving." In Washington, Moscow, Beijing, and Brussels, meetings ran through the night. Military commanders demanded action. Was Earth under surveillance? Were weapons already inbound? Should they strike at the wardens before it was too late? Scientists begged for caution. The signal was not directed at Earth, they argued. It was traveling past Earth out into the void. Someone was speaking, yes, but to someone else. That was the most terrifying part. Humanity was listening to a conversation it was never meant to hear. The first break came from the Chinese deep space array in Xinjiang. Their linguists detected faint mathematical structures hidden in the pulses. Ratios, sequences, prime numbers. It was a universal language. But then came something far worse. Nested inside, the numbers were coordinates pointing toward Earth. The message was not random. It was not harmless. Someone out there was marking humanity's home like a predator marking prey. Panic exploded. The stock markets crashed. Cities rioted. Social media drowned in fear. People demanded answers, but none came. The wardens offered no explanation. Governments tried to calm the masses, but their words rang hollow. Then came the second signal. This one was stronger, sharper, almost deafening in its intensity. It broke through communication networks, jamming satellites, interrupting television feeds and radio broadcasts. Across the planet, static erupted, and then a single tone filled the air, low, cold, endless. It lasted for 1 full minute, and then it was gone. The world froze. Children cried. Adults stood in silence, hearts pounding. Farmers in remote villages heard it through their radios. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station felt their instruments shudder with it. The sound touched everyone, everywhere, and when it ended, a new fear settled into the human soul. This was not imagination. This was not myth. Someone out there had noticed Earth. The wardens finally broke their silence. Their ambassador appeared once again before the United Nations. The chamber was packed, every delegate leaning forward, desperate for answers. The alien's mask of light shimmered, shifting into strange shapes as it spoke. "They have found your signal. Your first broadcasts reached the stars a century ago. They were always coming. Now they move." The room erupted. Delegates shouted. Fists slammed against desks. Translators scrambled to keep up. Humanity's own curiosity had betrayed it. Old television broadcasts, radio chatter, the songs and speeches of the past. They had all traveled outward like beacons. And someone had listened. The ambassador raised its clawed hand. Silence returned. "You asked who we protect you from. Now you know. We call them the Devourers." The chamber fell cold. The name carried weight, like a shadow stretching across the soul, but there were no details, no descriptions, no warnings about what these Devourers were, how they looked, or how they fought. Only the name. That night, every human imagination filled the gap. Some pictured insect-like monsters swarming from the stars. Others envisioned machine fleets, endless and cold. Still others dreamed of beings made of fire or shadow, hungering for worlds to consume. The truth was worse. Humanity did not know, and then came the whispers. At first, they were rumors. Pilots on long-haul flights claimed to see shadows slipping through the upper atmosphere. A freighter captain swore he detected an object tailing him in orbit. Miners on the far side of the moon reported hearing faint knocks echoing through the rock. Officials dismissed these reports as stress and paranoia. But the stories kept coming. In one case, a research station in Antarctica reported that all their instruments went dark at once. When they rebooted, a single phrase appeared across every screen. Typed in perfect English, though no one had touched a keyboard. "We see you." The scientists abandoned the base the same night. Governments demanded the wardens explain. Who were the devourers? How far away were they? What did they want? The answer was always the same. They want everything. And they are close. The United States deployed a secret reconnaissance mission. The plan was simple. Launch a classified satellite beyond the orbit of Pluto, equipped with the most advanced sensors humanity had. It would search for the source of the signals. For 2 weeks, the satellite sent back images. Empty space, stars, dust, nothing unusual. Then on the 15th day, it captured something that made analysts go pale, a shadow moving against the stars. Not a ship in the way humans built ships. This was larger, jagged, like a shard of black glass drifting through the void. Light bent strangely around it. Instruments failed when aimed at it. But its trajectory was clear. It was coming closer. The data was classified at once, but within hours it leaked online. Pictures of the shadow flooded the internet. The world reacted with terror. The wardens, for the first time, acknowledged the image. This is the smallest of their scouts. Do not fear. We will destroy it. The promise brought no comfort. If that thing was only a scout, what would the full swarm look like? The whispers grew louder. Radio operators reported strange echoes when transmitting signals. Soldiers at remote bases swore they heard voices when they were alone. Civilians claimed to dream of black shapes crawling across the stars. Fear turned to obsession. People searched the skies every night, convinced they would see something move. Some committed desperate acts, building bunkers or fleeing cities. Others gave up hope entirely, convinced humanity's time was ending, and through it all, the wardens remained above, unmoving, watching, waiting. One evening, Dr. Calderon sat in the observatory, headphones pressed to her ears. The signal pulsed again, steady and cold. But this time, she noticed something different. A new pattern hidden beneath the main rhythm. A whisper inside the whisper. Her hands shook as she wrote it down. It was not numbers this time. It was not coordinates. It was words. She translated them slowly, heart pounding. We are coming. Prepare your flesh. The next morning, the world changed again. The wardens called an emergency broadcast. Every screen on Earth lit up with their ambassador's face of shifting light. The voice was firm, final, colder than before. The devourers have turned their gaze fully upon you. The first wave is on its way. You must prepare. The image flickered. The alien raised its hand once more. We are the wardens. We swore to protect you, and we will. But know this, we cannot hold them forever. The broadcast ended. Humanity sat in silence, breath held. Eyes wide, the whispers of the enemy had become more than whispers. They were coming. The image appeared for only a moment. But it was enough to shake the world. On a cold night, the James Webb Deep Space Telescope captured something it was never meant to see. Against the backdrop of distant stars, a black mass moved like a blade, cutting through the cosmos. It had no lights, no clear shape, no reflection. It was darker than the void itself, a silhouette that consumed everything behind it. Astronomers stared at the screen in silence. For hours, they replayed the image again and again. Instruments confirmed it was not an error, not a shadow cast by the telescope, not a trick of light. It was real. Something vast and silent was moving in the darkness beyond Pluto. The image leaked within 12 hours. Across the world, people crowded around phones, televisions, and computers. They saw the shape for themselves, a smear of blackness that looked more like a nightmare than a ship. Some said it was the size of a city. Others claimed it was as large as the moon. The truth was unclear. The only certainty was its direction. It was coming closer. Fear erupted instantly. Markets crashed. Governments declared emergencies. Rumors spread that the devourers had already reached the edge of the solar system. Others argued the wardens had staged the image to frighten humanity into obedience. In New York, protests filled the streets. Some held banners begging the wardens to protect Earth. Others carried signs demanding the aliens leave, calling them liars and manipulators. In Paris, a riot broke out after a warden patrol ship appeared above the skyline. Hovering silently, as if observing the chaos, the world was fracturing. But the wardens gave no answers. At the United Nations, the warden ambassador faced the council again. Its mask of light rippled unreadable as furious leaders demanded an explanation. "What are we seeing out there?" shouted the president of France. "Is this truly a devourer ship?" asked the prime minister of Japan. "How close are they? How much time do we have?" demanded the U.S. Secretary of Defense. The alien remained silent for a long moment. Then its voice filled the chamber. "What you see is not a ship. It is a scout, the smallest of them. They watch, they wait, they mark their prey." Gasps spread through the chamber. If something that large was only a scout, then what would the full fleet look like? The warden lowered its hand slowly. "You asked why we came. This is why. You are no longer hidden. The devourers have marked you." The words spread like fire. Humanity was prey, and predators were already circling. In the following days, strange incidents multiplied. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station reported strange flickers in their instruments. A camera caught a faint shadow drifting across the Earth's limb, gone in an instant. Military radar in Alaska detected an object the size of a battleship gliding across the upper atmosphere at impossible speeds. Fighter jets scrambled, but they found nothing. On the far side of the moon, miners reported low vibrations in the rock. The sound was steady, almost like a heartbeat. One night, their comms failed entirely. When they returned the next day, every system was intact, but carved into the regolith outside the base were 3 deep slashes. No human tool had made them. Whispers grew louder. Dr. Sofia Calderon, still at Arecibo, barely slept. She listened to the signals day and night, chasing patterns hidden within the noise. The main pulse remained steady, but faint layers of sound now wove beneath it, like whispers just beyond hearing. One evening, her headphones filled with a new message. Not numbers, not coordinates, a voice. It was faint, distorted, broken by static, but she heard it clearly. "Prepare. We come." She tore off her headphones, heart hammering. The devourers were not just signaling. They were speaking. Governments panicked in secret meetings. Some argued for immediate strikes against the wardens, claiming they had lured the devourers here. Others demanded humanity build weapons and prepare for war, though everyone knew Earth's militaries were powerless against what was coming. Meanwhile, civilians fell into chaos. Religious groups declared the end of days. Cults formed, some worshipping the devourers as gods, others preparing mass suicides to avoid being consumed. The wardens stayed silent. Their ships hung above Earth, unmoving, a wall of steel and shadow, until the night the first shadow came. It began with a flash of light over South America. Satellites caught the burst before going dark, their feeds filled with static. Then the skies above Brazil rippled, as though the atmosphere itself was being torn apart. Witnesses on the ground saw something fall from the stars. Not a meteor, not a satellite. A black shape, jagged and crawling with strange energy, slammed into the Amazon rainforest with a thunderous roar. Trees exploded. Rivers boiled. A crater miles wide opened in the heart of the jungle. Military forces rushed to the site, but they never returned. Every drone sent over the crater went offline, their last transmissions filled with shrieking static. The wardens moved at last. A fleet of their ships broke orbit and descended over the jungle. White light lanced from their hulls, burning the earth, searing the air. Witnesses hundreds of miles away reported the ground shaking as if struck by an earthquake. Then silence fell. The next morning, satellite images showed the entire crater reduced to glass. Nothing remained, not even ash. When asked what had fallen, the warden ambassador spoke only 6 words. The first of them is dead. The declaration should have brought relief. Instead, it deepened the terror. If this was only one, a scout, how many more waited in the dark? And why did the wardens burn everything to ash? What had they destroyed that could not even be studied? Scientists begged for samples. Military commanders demanded evidence. Civilians wanted the truth. But the wardens offered nothing. "It is safer for you not to know." Doubts began to grow. Were the wardens truly protectors, or were they hiding something? A leaked document from European intelligence claimed the wardens had destroyed not only the crater, but also villages nearby, erasing hundreds of lives without a word. Families demanded answers, but governments refused to confirm. Conspiracies spread that the wardens feared not the devourers, but humanity itself, and yet deep inside, everyone knew the devourers were real. The shadow in space, the signal, the fall in the Amazon, these were no tricks. Something was out there, something vast and merciless. That night, a final sign appeared. Astronomers at the European Southern Observatory in Chile detected multiple moving objects beyond Neptune. At first there were 3, then 7, then 13. The numbers grew every hour. By dawn, the count was 20. 20 shadows sliding silently toward the solar system. The warden's ship stirred for the first time, shifting in orbit, their formation tightening. Their ambassador appeared once more. Broadcast across every screen, every channel, every device on Earth, its voice was sharp, urgent, filled with a weight that crushed the air. The devourers are no longer whispers. They are here. You must prepare. The mask of light flickered. For the first time, the alien's voice broke, carrying something like fear. This is only the beginning. The world listened in silence, the shadows beyond. The veil were coming closer, and humanity stood caught between protectors. They did not trust in predators they could not understand. The waiting was over. The first scream from Mars cut through the silence of space. It came as a broken transmission, a burst of static. Then the terrified voice of a technician in the Valles Marineris colony. They are inside. God help us, they are... The message ended in shrieking static. For a long moment, no one on Earth moved. Then every screen across the planet lit up with the red banner, Mars, outpost silent. The world held its breath. Mars was humanity's pride. 20,000 people lived there, spread across domes, mines, and research bases. It was a symbol of progress, proof that humans were no longer bound to Earth alone. And now, in one night, it was gone. The wardens moved instantly. A fleet of their ships ripped across space, faster than any human craft could ever hope to travel. Within hours, they stood guard above the red planet. From Earth's telescopes, citizens watched beams of white fire strike the Martian surface, searing the night sky crimson. But the colony did not respond. No voices. No survivors. Nothing but silence. In Geneva, the United Nations chamber erupted. Leaders shouted across tables, voices cracking with fear and anger. What attacked the colony? Are we under invasion? Why were we not warned? The warden ambassador stood in the center of the storm, its mask of light rippling with cold patterns. The devourers have reached your system. This was their first strike. The words dropped like bombs. Delegates froze. Translators stumbled over their words. The ambassador continued, its voice sharp and steady. They are not shadows now. They are here. They will strike again. The room erupted again, but one word cut through the chaos. Survivors? Were there any survivors on Mars? The warden gave no answer. Meanwhile, signals poured from the red planet. Emergency channels filled with broken voices, screams, then silence. Radar detected massive shapes moving across the Martian surface. They were not ships in the human sense. They were shifting, crawling things. Their forms blurred by interference. The first images leaked within hours. Grainy, distorted feeds from drones fleeing the colonies. Viewers on Earth watched shadows taller than skyscrapers move through dust storms, their limbs jagged, their bodies shifting like smoke and steel fused together. Soldiers opened fire in the footage. Their bullets sparked harmlessly against black skin. The shadows turned, and then the feed ended. The world saw enough. Panic gripped Earth. Families clung to each other in fear. Cities held emergency drills. Shelters were prepared. People began leaving major urban centers, convinced the same fate awaited them. Cults rose in the streets, chanting praises to the devourers, believing resistance was hopeless. Others armed themselves, promising to fight no matter the cost. But no one slept peacefully, because everyone knew Mars had fallen in one night. The wardens released their first warning. On every channel, their voice boomed, "You must prepare! They will test you again." They will probe your defenses. You must endure. Humanity asked the question again and again. How do we fight them? What weapons do we use? How do we survive? The warden's answer was always the same. You cannot. That is why we came. Yet something changed. For the first time, human militaries saw the wardens fight. Above Mars, alien ships unleashed storms of white fire. Entire valleys lit up as if stars had landed. Observatories on Earth recorded massive energy spikes, stronger than any nuclear blast. Warden fleets clashed with shadows across the planet's skies, and humanity saw fear. Even with all their power, the wardens were not calm. They fought with urgency, with desperation. They burned entire regions to stop the creatures from spreading. One leaked recording from a warden ship chilled the world. They adapt. They learn. Strike faster. Burn it all? Back on Earth, leaders demanded a new answer. If the Devourers could reach Mars, what stopped them from reaching Earth next? The ambassador stood before the United Nations again. This time its light mask flickered, unstable. They will come. You cannot hide. You cannot stop them. We will hold them back as long as we can. But the price will be high. What price? Shouted the German Chancellor. The warden turned its glowing face to the chamber. Everything you build. Everything you love. They will take it, unless we burn it first. The hall erupted in chaos. For the first time, humanity began to doubt not just the warden's motives, but their methods. Protecting Earth might mean destroying Earth to save it, but doubts would not stop the next strike. 2 weeks later, the moon screamed. The mining colony at Shackleton Crater, home to 5,000 people, sent a final distress call. The feed showed shadows rising from the regolith itself, twisting out of the lunar dust like smoke turned solid. Workers fled, their screams echoing through comms. Then silence. Within minutes, warden ships rained fire down on the moon's surface. From Earth, telescopes recorded explosions so bright they rivaled the sun. When it was over, half the crater was gone. So were the colonists. The world staggered. Mars was gone. The moon was burning. Earth was next. Civilians broke into full panic. Refugee camps filled as millions tried to flee cities. Ports clogged with ships. Airports shut down. People carried signs into the streets, begging for rescue, for answers. For salvation, the wardens remained above, silent guardians of a world drowning in fear. But whispers grew. Some claimed the wardens had allowed the attacks to happen. Others said the aliens were using Earth as bait, drawing the Devourers into battle far from their own worlds. A leaked document from a European research team revealed something darker, samples taken from Martian debris before the wardens destroyed it. Showed traces of energy almost identical to warden technology. The question spread like wildfire. Were the Devourers truly a separate enemy, or were they something the wardens had created? Governments demanded the truth. The warden ambassador returned once more. Its voice was low, sharp, each word cutting like steel. You are children screaming in the dark. We warned you. We came to protect you. You must trust us. But trust was crumbling. Then came the broadcast. On every channel, across every screen, a new voice spoke. It was not human. It was not warden. It was deep, layered, echoing with 1,000 tones at once. We are here. We are hunger. We are the Devourers. Your world is marked. The feed ended in static. Every heart on Earth froze. The enemy was no longer whispers. The enemy had spoken. Above Earth, the warden fleet shifted into battle formations. Their ships glowed with energy, their weapons primed. For the first time since their arrival, the wardens looked less like protectors, and more like soldiers preparing for war. The first strike had come, and it would not be the last. The skies above Earth were no longer calm. Every city looked upward and saw the warden fleet in formation, their white ships glowing like silent stars of war. Their weapons pulsed, ready to fire. Their voices had grown cold, their patience thin, and then came the demand, join us or fall alone. The broadcast struck every screen at once. Phones, televisions, billboards, even the smallest digital watch flickered with the words, The Warden ambassador appeared in light and fire, its mask rippling with strange patterns. You face the Devourers now. You cannot fight them alone. You must join our alliance, or you will be left behind when they come in force. The message ended. Earth fell into chaos. In Washington, in Moscow, in Beijing, in Berlin, leaders gathered in emergency sessions. They argued through the night. Join the Wardens? Submit to alien rule? Or refuse and risk extinction? The American president slammed a fist on the table. We don't even know what their alliance means. Are we giving up our freedom? Our future? The Japanese prime minister shook his head. If we refuse, we may not have a future at all. The Indian defense minister whispered the words everyone feared. What if they are lying? What if the Devourers are just a story to keep us under their control? But while leaders argued, the world's people trembled. Citizens filled the streets demanding answers. Protests turned violent in London and New York. In Brazil, crowds set fire to Warden banners. In Egypt, millions gathered to pray, begging their gods for protection. Others begged the Wardens directly. Messages of surrender and loyalty poured into the skies, hoping the aliens would choose their nation first when the war began. The world was splitting in two. The survivors of Mars and the Moon, or what little was left of them, were silent. Their last screams still echoed in recordings replayed across the internet. Families wept over images of loved ones swallowed by shadow. For many, the choice was clear. Trust the Wardens or share the fate of Mars, but for others, suspicion burned hotter than fear. At a secret base in Nevada, scientists studied the fragments taken from Mars before the Wardens burned the surface clean. What they found chilled them. The energy signature inside the black shards was not entirely alien. It carried traces of the same frequency the Wardens used in their weapons. One scientist whispered the words no one wanted to hear. What if the Devourers are tied to the Wardens themselves? Rumors spread fast. Conspiracy channels exploded with theories. Were the Wardens waging a false war? Had they created the Devourers to scare humanity into submission? The truth was unclear, but fear does not wait for proof. And Earth had no time left to decide. The Warden ambassador appeared before the United Nations once more. This time its voice shook with urgency, its glowing mask flaring like lightning. The Devourers are moving. They are gathering near the edge of your system. They will not wait. You must choose now. The hall erupted. The French president rose. If we join you, what happens to our nations? Our armies? Our freedom? The Warden answered without hesitation. You will serve under our command. You will fight at our side. Your leaders will obey our counsel. There is no other way. Gasps filled the chamber. The British Prime Minister shouted, "That is not an alliance. That is surrender." The Warden's mask rippled. Its voice turned sharp. "Call it what you wish. But without us you will die." The room broke into chaos. Some leaders demanded immediate acceptance. Others shouted in rage, refusing to hand their nations to alien control. Amid the storm, one voice cut through. It was General Mark Hanover of the United States, a decorated officer who had led Earth's defenses for decades. His face was hard, his voice steady. "We need proof. We will not give up humanity's freedom without proof of what we face." He turned to the Warden. "Show us what they are. Show us why we must obey." The chamber fell silent. For a long moment the Warden ambassador did not move. Its light mask shifted slowly, like fire caught in water. Then it raised a hand. A beam of white light filled the chamber. Gasps erupted as an image formed above them, a hologram, the Devourers, not shadows now. Not blurred images from Mars, but clear, sharp, undeniable, towering figures of black stone and fire. Limbs like spears, mouths that split open into rows of teeth that glowed like burning coals. Their bodies shifted like living smoke, yet struck with the weight of mountains. One image showed them tearing through a Martian dome. Humans screamed as the creatures ripped steel apart with claws of black fire. Another showed them climbing across the moon's surface, their bodies shimmering in the thin light, swallowing soldiers whole. And then came the final image, a fleet. Dozens of ships, larger than cities, black jagged alive, moving toward the solar system. The room went cold. The ambassador's voice shook the chamber. These are the Devourers. They will not stop. They will not bargain. They will not show mercy. They will strip your world to ash and move on. Only we can hold them back, only if you stand with us. The silence was broken only by the sound of trembling breaths. The choice was no longer abstract. It was real, and it was coming. Back on the streets, the images spread in seconds. Billions saw the Devourers for the first time. Terror swept across the globe. Riots erupted. People stormed government buildings, demanding their nations submit to the wardens. Others demanded resistance, calling the images a trick. The world was tearing itself apart. That night, above Earth, a secret meeting took place. General Hanover and a small group of human leaders boarded a warden vessel. They were taken deep inside the glowing halls, past rivers of light and humming machinery, unlike anything Earth had ever seen. At the heart of the ship, the warden commander stood waiting. Taller, brighter, its light mask burned with fire. "You have seen the truth," it said. "Now you must decide. Join us and fight. Refuse and perish." Hanover stood tall. "What if we fight our own way? What if we build our own defenses?" The commander's mask flared red. "Your weapons are nothing. Your armies are nothing. Alone you will last minutes." Hanover's jaw tightened. "Humans don't give up that easily." The commander leaned closer, its voice dropping to a growl. "Then you will burn first." Back on Earth, the debate reached its peak. Some nations declared immediate allegiance to the wardens. Others refused, vowing to hold their sovereignty, no matter the cost. The planet stood on the edge of civil war, but all arguments ended when the warning came. Satellites, at the edge of the solar system, caught sight of something vast. Dozens of black shapes, the Devourer fleet. They were real. They were coming, and they were close. Panic swept Earth again. People flooded the streets, screaming prayers, curses, or both. Entire cities shut down. Military forces moved into full alert. The Warden fleet shifted above, preparing for battle, and humanity was left with one final choice: bow to the Wardens and live under alien command, or stand alone and risk extinction. As dawn broke over Earth, General Hanover stood before the cameras of the world. His voice was calm, steady, but heavy with the weight of billions of lives. Humanity has always faced impossible odds. We have always been underestimated. Now the Wardens tell us we cannot fight. The Devourers tell us we are already dead. But I tell you this, humanity has a choice, and we will make it together. The world held its breath, waiting for his answer. The stars went dark, not because the night sky had changed, but because something enormous now filled it. The first ships of the Devourer fleet entered the solar system, their jagged hulls blotting out constellations. They were alive, yet mechanical, black as obsidian, glowing faintly with veins of fire. Each ship was larger than a city. Each moved with the hunger of a predator that had finally found prey. On Earth, billions stood under the open sky and saw death arriving. Above the planet, the Warden fleet shifted into battle formation. White ships lined the heavens like blades of light. Their energy hummed, their weapons shone, and then the order came. Hold the line. The first strike hit near the moon. A swarm of Devourer craft, smaller but faster than their colossal flagships, ripped across space like shards of night. They crashed against the Warden formation, tearing with claws of black fire. The Wardens answered with storms of white energy. Explosions lit the void like newborn suns. The moon's surface cracked as stray fire hammered its craters. Human telescopes captured every second. The world watched in horror and awe as war unlike anything in history ignited just beyond their skies. General Hanover stood inside Earth's orbital defense station, eyes fixed on the battle. Around him, officers shouted updates, voices cracking with panic. Enemy craft breaching Warden lines. Second swarm detected near Mars orbit. Energy spikes rising across all fronts. Hanover's fists tightened. Humanity's weapons were weak compared to either side, but Earth was not powerless. For the first time, human ships armed with prototype rail cannons and missile systems joined the fight. They launched from orbit, cutting through space with defiance. A single missile streaked from a human cruiser and slammed into a devourer swarm ship. The explosion tore it apart. Cheers erupted in the control room, but the victory was short. The swarm turned on the human ship. In seconds, claws of black fire ripped through its hull. The feed went dark. Hanover's jaw tightened. "Keep firing," he ordered. "Every second we buy matters." On the ground, cities trembled as shadows fell across the sky. Devourer drones broke through the atmosphere. They were smaller than the ships. Above, but still massive, living machines with wings of smoke and claws like burning steel. They struck coastal cities first. Tokyo's. Alarm screamed as black creatures dropped into the bay, tearing through ships like toys. In New York, shadows rained down between skyscrapers, their screeches echoing through the streets. In Rio, whole districts burned under their claws. The world was under attack, but humanity fought back. Jets roared into the skies, missiles streaking toward the shadows. Tanks fired into the streets. Soldiers unleashed everything they had. In every city, ordinary people took up arms. Rifles cracked from rooftops. Resistance fighters launched rockets from hidden bunkers. For the first time, the devourers met true human rage. In Tokyo, a squad of Japanese pilots flew directly into the swarm. They fired missile after missile until their fuel was gone. Then, with no weapons left, they rammed their jets into the enemy. The sky burned with their sacrifice. In New York, firefighters used their engines to save trapped civilians, driving through streets filled with smoke and shadow. When the devourers came too close, they fought with axes in their hands, refusing to run. In Africa, tribes that had hunted lions for centuries turned their skill on the new predators. Spears tipped with explosives struck into black flesh, detonating with deadly precision. Everywhere humans fought, and the wardens saw. High above, the warden commander watched the chaos. Its mask of light flickered with shock. "They are not prey," it whispered. "They are predators themselves." The battle raged for hours. Wardens and humans fought side by side, their weapons tearing into the swarms. Devourer ships split apart in fire. Black drones fell burning from the skies. But for every enemy destroyed, two more came. Earth shook under the assault. In Beijing, entire blocks vanished under a storm of claws. In London, the Thames boiled as a devourer creature plunged into its depths, rising with fire dripping from its body. In Johannesburg, soldiers and civilians alike fought in the streets, refusing to surrender even as the sky itself fell. The world was bleeding. Inside the United Nations bunker, leaders watched the feeds. Their faces were pale, their hands trembling. Some demanded surrender to the devourers. Others screamed to fight until the last breath. The warden ambassador stood among them, its light mask glowing with cold fury. "Do you see now? Do you understand why you cannot face them alone?" But the leaders were too divided to answer. Above the earth, a turning point came. A human pilot named Captain Laura Hayes led a squadron near the orbit of the moon. Her ship was slower, weaker, but she fought with precision. She guided her squad through the swarm, weaving between black claws. One by one, her pilots fell. At last she was alone, her ship burning. Ahead of her loomed a massive devourer vessel, its core pulsing with fire. Her voice crackled across the comms. "If they think humanity will break, let's prove them wrong." She aimed her ship at the core and fired her last missiles. Then she pushed her engines to full. Her ship slammed into the vessel. The explosion lit the sky. The devourer craft split apart in fire. Cheers erupted across Earth. Humanity had struck a killing blow. The wardens were stunned. For the first time in their long war, they saw a species that did not cower, that did not run, that turned desperation into strength. The warden commander spoke with awe. "They fight like us. No, they fight beyond us." But victory was far from certain. The devourer fleet pressed closer to Earth. More swarms descended, more cities burned. Humanity's strength was great, but their numbers were small. At last, the warden commander gave the order. Unleash the core fire. The warden's ships shifted. Energy built in their hearts, a storm brighter than any sun. They prepared to burn half the battlefield away, even if it meant destroying Earth below. General Hanover heard the order through the comms. His blood ran cold. "They'll wipe us out with the enemy," he whispered. The commander's voice boomed. "Better ashes than slaves." Hanover slammed his fist on the console. "No, not while humans still fight. Not while we're still standing." He turned to his officers. "Get me a line to every ship, every soldier, every civilian. They need to hear this." Across Earth, his voice broke through the chaos. "This is General Hanover. The wardens think we cannot win. The devourers think we are prey. But today, we prove them both wrong. Every second we stand, we buy another for our families, our cities, our world. Fight with everything you have. Show them what it means to be human." The words spread like fire. Soldiers straightened. Civilians reloaded. Pilots gritted their teeth. The fight burned hotter. In Rio, a mother armed with nothing but a kitchen knife stood in front of her children, daring the shadow to take her. Behind her, neighbors charged with makeshift weapons, screaming defiance. In Cairo, an old man raised his rifle and fired until the barrel melted, refusing to fall until others escaped. In Sydney, surfers turned their boards into shields, striking the creatures that crawled from the ocean. Everywhere, humans fought harder, and the tide began to turn. The wardens saw it. Their commander hesitated. Its mask flickered, caught between fear and wonder. Perhaps they can. Instead of unleashing the core fire, the wardens shifted tactics. They fell in line with humanity, covering their attacks, amplifying their courage. Together they pressed forward. For the first time in the war, the devourers fell back. The battle raged until dawn. When the sun rose, the skies were filled with wreckage. Burning ships drifted across orbit. The moon was scarred. Cities across Earth lay in ruins. Millions were gone, but Earth still stood. The devourer fleet had not been destroyed, but it had been pushed back. Humanity had survived the first battle. At last, silence returned. In that silence, one truth rang clear. The wardens had sworn to protect humanity. But it was humanity's fury, humanity's sacrifice, humanity's will that had saved Earth. The warden commander looked down at the battered planet, its light mask dim. "They are not what we thought. They are not prey. Perhaps they are the answer." The silence after the battle was worse than the battle itself. Earth was scarred, its cities smoking, its skies still glowing with falling wreckage. The moon was torn, the oceans restless, the forests burning. Millions were gone. Families wept in the rubble. Soldiers lay in the dust, and yet the world still breathed. The devourers had retreated. The warden fleet held its ground. Humanity had survived the first assault, but the price was written in fire across the planet. In the ruins of New York, General Hanover walked through streets lined with shattered glass and black blood that steamed on the pavement. Survivors stared at him with hollow eyes. Children clutched broken toys. Soldiers carried stretchers past the fires. Above, warden ships hovered glowing, cold and silent. They were not cheering. They were not celebrating. They were watching. Hanover's voice was low. "They're waiting for something." He was right. Hours later, the warden commander called for a gathering. In Geneva, inside the broken United Nations chamber, human leaders assembled. Many wore bandages. Some had lost family in the attack. Their eyes were tired, their voices strained. The warden stood before them, its light mask burning brighter than ever. "You have done what we did not expect. You stood, you fought, you bled." And the devourers fell back. It paused, its voice like steel and fire. "But now you must learn the truth." The chamber froze. Every ear leaned in. The warden continued. "We swore to protect humanity. That was not the full truth. We came here because we feared you." The words struck like a thunderclap. Gasps erupted. Leaders shouted in confusion. Hanover narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" he demanded. The warden's mask shifted, its patterns sharp and jagged. "For centuries we watched your kind. We saw your wars, your cruelty, your fire. You create weapons faster than you create peace. You adapt faster than any race we have known. We feared that one day you would rise against us. So we swore to keep you close, to guard you, to control you. The chamber fell into stunned silence. The British Prime Minister rose, voice trembling with fury. You wanted to protect us not from the devourers, but from ourselves. The warden turned its blazing mask toward her. Yes, and from the galaxy itself. Humanity is dangerous, too dangerous to remain unbound. The words burned into every soul in the room. Hanover stepped forward, his fists clenched. You thought we were a threat. You feared us. The warden nodded. Yes, and now we see we were right. You fought the devourers with no hope of victory, and yet you struck them down. You turned desperation into strength. You are what we feared, and what we hoped. The chamber erupted again. Some leaders shouted for alliance, others for resistance. The world was once more on the edge of tearing itself apart, but the Warden Commander raised its hand and silenced them. Now you must choose. Remain under our protection, bound by our laws, our command, our will, or rise and join us not as children but as equals. And with that choice comes another truth. It lifted its mask of light. For the first time, the wardens revealed their true faces. They were not beings of fire and light. They were scarred, weary, flesh and blood. Their skin was grey and cracked, their eyes burned with ancient fatigue. They were soldiers who had fought too long, carried too many losses. The light was only a mask, a shield for their fear. We are dying, the commander said. Our war with the devourers has lasted for ages. Alone we will fall. With you we may yet endure. But you must decide if you will stand with us or against us. The truth crashed over the chamber like a tidal wave. The wardens had not come to save humanity. They had come because they could not win without humanity, and now the choice lay bare. That night, Earth was restless. Across the globe, people debated in streets and shelters. Some argued humanity must rise, take its place among the stars, lead the war against the devourers. Others argued that joining the wardens meant losing everything that made them human. The choice was too heavy, too final. In the bunker, Hanover stared at the screens showing the wounded world. His officers waited for his orders. One asked quietly, "Do we join them, sir?" Hanover's eyes were hard. "No, we do not join. We stand." The next day, Hanover walked into the chamber and faced the warden commander. "You feared us. You controlled us. You lied to us. And still, we fought beside you. We proved our worth. Humanity does not bow. Humanity does not hide. If you want us as allies, then treat us as equals. No chains, no masters. We fight together or not at all." The warden's mask of light flickered, dimmed, then steadied. For a long moment, silence ruled. Then the commander's voice came, lower than before. "So be it. Humanity shall not be shielded. Humanity shall be unleashed." The room shook with the weight of those words. The leaders stared at one another, some with fear, some with hope, some with pride. Hanover's voice rose above them all. "Then let the galaxy hear it. Earth stands. Humanity stands. We will not be prey. We will not be slaves. We will fight. And when we fight, we win." The decision spread across the world. In the streets of Tokyo, survivors raised torn flags and cheered. In Cairo, crowds shouted to the heavens. In New York, soldiers saluted the sky with battered rifles. Across every land, across every ocean, humanity's spirit ignited. The choice was made. Above Earth, the Warden fleet shifted formation. For the first time, their ships flew not above humanity, but beside it. Their weapons glowed brighter, their voices steadier, and far beyond the devourers stirred once more. Their fleet gathered, their hunger burned. The war was not over. It had only begun. In the silence of space, the Warden Commander spoke to General Hanover one last time. "We swore to protect humanity. But the truth is, humanity may be the only force left to protect us all." Hanover's eyes narrowed, his voice steady. "Then let's show them what happens when humans lead the fight. The stars trembled, the galaxy watched. Humanity had been underestimated, feared, and controlled. Now it stood free. The Wardens swore to protect humanity, but in the end, it was humanity that would protect the stars. The stars were not quiet. Barely weeks after the fires on Earth dimmed, the skies trembled again. Not from battle, but from whispers. Strange signals pulsed through the void. Dark transmissions carried voices that no one could understand. And in the wreckage of the Devourer fleet, fragments drifted that were not supposed to exist. Something was watching. Something was waiting. General Hanover stood in the war room of the new Allied command, a chamber built beneath the ruins of Geneva. Screens glowed with maps of Earth, the Moon, Mars, and the debris field in orbit. His officers stood tense, waiting. "Report," Hanover ordered. The communications officer swallowed. "Sir, we've picked up signals in the asteroid belt. Strong repeating, coded. They're not Devourer, not Warden, and not human." Hanover's eyes narrowed. "Then who?" The officer hesitated. "We don't know." Moments later, the Warden commander entered. Its mask of light shimmered, but now Hanover knew what lay beneath. Scarred, weary flesh. Still, its presence filled the chamber with authority. "The shadows stir," the Warden said. "They were bound to hear the noise of war. The galaxy has eyes, General, and now all of them are on you." Hanover clenched his jaw. "So Earth just became a beacon?" The Warden nodded. "Yes, and not all who come will offer peace. Across Earth, recovery was slow. Cities rebuilt in patches of light and shadow. Families searched for lost loved ones. Soldiers buried their dead. The world was scarred but alive, yet as humanity tried to heal, strange events began. In Cairo, a merchant claimed to see a silver figure watching from a rooftop, vanishing into thin air when approached. In Siberia, a research outpost reported finding a shard of unknown metal that pulsed like a heartbeat. In orbit, a patrol ship vanished without warning, leaving behind only a broken distress call that ended with screams. Hanover studied the reports late into the night. His gut told him the Devourers were not the only threat anymore. The Warden commander confirmed it. The Devourers were never alone. They are hunger-made flesh, but hunger is always fed by something greater. "You are beginning to see the edges of the truth." Hanover frowned. "Then tell me, who's behind them?" The Warden's light mask flared brighter, then dimmed. "We do not speak their name. We call them the Architects of Silence." The chamber grew cold. "The Architects of Silence," the Wardens explained in fragments. Beings that did not conquer worlds with fire, but with whispers. They seeded fear, spread lies, and watched civilizations destroy themselves. To them, the Devourers were only tools, predators unleashed to weaken prey. Now, with humanity awakened and standing tall, the architects had noticed, and they would not ignore Earth. The hook sank deeper when new evidence arrived. A ship, barely functional, limped into Earth orbit. Its hull was torn, its crew burned and broken. They were not human, not Warden. They were something else. A new species, ragged and desperate. Their captain, dying on a stretcher, gasped out words through blood. "They are coming. They are already here." Then he was gone. The leaders of Earth gathered again, fury and fear clashing. Some demanded full alliance with the Wardens. Others argued humanity should stand alone, lest they be trapped again in alien chains. Hanover listened, silent, his mind sharp. Finally, he spoke. "We don't have the luxury of arguing anymore. If the architects are real, if they can use the Devourers like weapons, then we are not just defending Earth, we're defending the galaxy." But the Warden commander shook its head. "You still do not understand. The architects do not strike with fleets. They strike with minds. They twist leaders. They seed betrayal. When they move, you will not know until it is too late." Hanover's fists clenched. "Then we hunt them first." The Warden tilted its mask of light. "Hunt shadows? Be careful, General. Shadows can swallow even the brightest flame." Meanwhile, on Mars, humanity's first military colony faced chaos. Strange voices whispered over comms, words in languages no one knew. Soldiers turned their guns on each other in sudden bursts of madness. And deep beneath the red dust, an ancient structure pulsed with light. The architects had already reached Mars. Hanover flew there himself with a joint team of soldiers and wardens. The descent into the Martian base felt like a dive into hell. The walls shook, the whispers grew louder, and the deeper they went, the more the air tasted of iron and ash. At the heart of the ruins, they found it, a black monolith, taller than a skyscraper, humming with power. Its surface was smooth, but shapes moved inside it like shadows trapped in glass. One of Hanover's men collapsed screaming. Another dropped his rifle and clawed at his own eyes. Hanover stood firm, his body shaking, but his will unbroken. "Destroy it," he ordered. The warden commander hesitated. "If we strike it, they will know exactly where you stand." Hanover's voice was steel. "They already know." Explosives were set. The monolith pulsed brighter, the whispers rising into a storm of madness. Hanover felt his mind tear at the edges. He heard voices promising victory, power, salvation. He ignored them. The charges blew. The monolith cracked, screamed, and shattered into dust. For a moment, the whispers stopped, but in the silence that followed, a new voice came, cold, ancient, endless. "We see you." Hanover fell to his knees, clutching his skull. All across Mars, comms went dead. On Earth, satellites flickered. In warden ships, alarms wailed. The architects had noticed, they had spoken, and now they were coming. Back on Earth, panic spread. News leaked. People whispered of shadows and gods. Governments fractured again, leaders pointing fingers, accusing rivals of betrayal. Just as the wardens warned, the architects were already twisting humanity against itself. But Hanover stood before the cameras of the world, his voice strong. "They want us afraid. They want us divided. But we are not prey anymore. We are hunters. We will not fall into their silence. We will rise together." The speech echoed across the globe. In burned cities and shattered homes, people raised their heads. In shelters, soldiers saluted. On ships, crews tightened their grips on weapons. The fear was still there, but something stronger rose beside it, defiance. That night, Hanover met the warden commander in private. "Tell me the truth," Hanover demanded. "Have you faced them before?" The warden's mask dimmed. "Yes, and every time we lost." Hanover's voice dropped to a growl. "Then this time will be different." The warden studied him for a long moment. Then it bowed its head. "Perhaps that is why we feared you. Because you may be the only ones who can win. The war with the Devourers had nearly broken Earth, but the true war had not yet begun. The architects of silence were awake, and humanity was no longer hidden from their gaze.